Office rentals and space are recovering slower than retail and residential in Dubai, but one company that's making good money in that space is MyOffice, a Dubai-based firm who've taken on new space in the marina after founding a couple of years ago in the downtown area, and they're going to be looking to Africa for greater expansion. In the studio to outline their growth chart is Melissa O'Neill, Managing Director of MyOffice. Good morning to you, Melissa. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
Before we look at your expansion plans, how do you describe your business to potential clients?
Well, primarily we are a serviced office provider. So we've taken space initially down in downtown next to the Burj Khalifa. And we have anything from a small one-person cabin right up to 10, 12, 15 people in separate offices. That's our primary focus. On top of that, what we've decided to do, which I think separates us out from the other competition, is that we can support these SMEs that join us right from start all the way through to operations. So we can get them licensed, we can get their website set up, we can get their lawyers in to do all of their HR and recruitment. So it's a real one-stop shop that we provide.
I mean, you mentioned the competition there, but there is quite a lot of competition. It's not a new concept. It's been around quite a lot. Why do you think it's doing so well now?
Well, Dubai especially, there's a lot of rules and regulations revolving around real estate and the licensing side of new companies. So actually what we found is that new companies find themselves often tied into larger spaces that they don't need at a higher cost, and obviously that accelerates the risk factor for them. What we do is give them an easy, quick and potentially in the long run cheaper option just to get them started, to get them over the first few years of operation.
So how does the business model work with you guys? If you're saving money, if they're like your customers' money, how are you guys making money and how does the structure work?
Well, obviously it has to be worth it for us to do it as well. So we do make money on what we offer. The way that we save money for our clients is that they don't have to take a huge commercial space. More often than not, for licensing purposes, it would need to be at least 500 square feet. Whereas with us, they can take a 150 to 200 square feet space, still get their license from the DED. We being a business centre have a much smaller square foot requirement, so we can save them money in that sense. What we also do obviously is having everything under one roof. They don't then have to spend their time and efforts going out and sourcing all of these separate providers. They can come to us for absolutely everything, and more often than not we can package things up for them. You
mentioned that to satisfy the licensing agreements and they're taking office space, they'd have to have, I think, was it 500 square feet?
500 tends to be the minimum. Yeah.
Do you check that all of your people either have a license or are applying for a license?
Absolutely, yeah. It's 100%. We have to do that. It is a legal requirement in Dubai for every company to be licensed at one varying level or another. There's so many different licenses that companies can go for. Now, what we personally specialise in is Dubai mainland licenses from the DED. Obviously, companies can go for free zone licenses. There are many free zones in Dubai. We do look at doing that as well. But having said that, if they wanted to take an office with MyOffice, they would need to have a DED license.
Because I imagine, I sort of foresaw that quite a few people would be coming from overseas, doing 1 month, 2 month, 3 month stints without a license, just to have an address in Dubai. But they wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Well, they can do. There's a little bit of a grey area in that situations exactly like that aren't really covered by the guidelines in Dubai. Having said that, what we've been advised, and obviously doing what we do, we have to keep in constant touch with the DED and the government departments, but what we've been advised is that up to about 3 months for a foreign company to come over, test the market, see how they feel about things, that is fine. Once they get past that point, really they should be licensing. They should at least have the process started, so that if at any point the government want to come and check what they're doing, they can do so.
Do you also provide introductions for partners, for local partners and those kind of things?
Absolutely, yeah, of course. So with the Dubai mainland licenses, as I'm sure you all know, the requirement is that a local Emirati sponsor has to be involved. Now, there are misconceptions sometimes about the whole 51%, 49% split that most people know about. It's not necessarily always the case with a Dubai mainland license. There are cases where foreign owners can own 100% of a Dubai mainland company, and that's really why I always say that the best thing to do when setting up a company is always to get the advice of a professional consultant on things like that, because it might well be that you're acting under a misconception. Just educate yourself before you go out and do that.
You talked about helping your clients to get registered and to grow into their own office space. Are you seeing quite a few companies in the other direction, if you like, people who for whom times aren't so good, who have had office space, perhaps clients whose companies in better days would have leased their own space and they're downsizing?
Downsizing, yeah, absolutely.
You're getting quite a few of those?
We have done, yeah. More so when we first sort of started up operations about 2 years ago. That was actually a primary focus of ours. It's a fair weather thing, you know, people that have not necessarily fared so well through recent years need to downsize, need to maybe get everything a bit straight again in the books. We offer a really easy way of them doing that. They can relinquish all of their cost and expenses in that side of things and join us where everything's taken care of for them. They can then put all of their focus back onto their primary business, which is after all what they want to be doing in the first place, and we can take care of all of the back office stuff for them.
Melissa, you are already expanding in the UAE. You've got your downtown premises, you're expanding to the marina. Why take on Africa now at the same time?
I
These
know,
are
yeah.
lofty ambitions, aren't they?
Yeah, and the timing is kind of crazy for us. We've really doubled our workload overnight in doing this. It was never a plan to be expanding both in Dubai and Africa at the same time. It just so happened that it worked out that way. Actually, we've been looking at Africa for the last 6 months or so, once expansion came up as an option. It seemed like the obvious choice for us. There is so much going on in Africa at the moment, and Kenya especially, where we're looking at in Nairobi. There's a real entrepreneurial spirit going on over there at the moment, and even from startups to huge multinationals are looking for local entities in Kenya and especially Nairobi. So it made sense for us to look that way, and once we kind of got the ball rolling with that, the Dubai Marina option came in.
It's a fairly sort of unorthodox expansion plan. Normally people from Dubai start off with other Gulf countries or nearby countries.
Yeah. Well, obviously I can't say too much at this stage, but it's watch this space with that one. Yeah, the GCC is still our primary focus. I mean, that is the obvious choice for us, having started in Dubai. We have been looking at options in Saudi and Qatar. There will be further moving there as well, yeah.
I guess the obvious question is that, you know, following on from what Malcolm said, expanding in the region, you're growing your area of expertise within the community, the regional community. But, you know, venturing into Africa, this is a whole different territory. This is a whole different kind of work structure, business structure.
Absolutely.
An area of expertise that you're having to kind of grow into. Are you employing locally, or are you skilling up?
We are, yeah, absolutely. Well, both, in fact. I mean, I personally will be spending quite a lot of time over in Nairobi. It's important for us to fully understand right from top level what it is that our staff are doing on a daily basis and the structure that they're having to work into. Mm-hmm. But we will be hiring locally, and we're really lucky in that we've partnered with a local investor in Nairobi, and they're bringing from their side their expertise in that sense as well.
And that was my next question, actually, as far as the investment. When you're an SME, growing SME, yeah. And it's all about money, these next phases of you know, growing. Where are you getting your investments from? Are you approaching banks? Where is all the money coming from, and how much are you spending on this expansion?
Well, like you said, being an SME, banks are, especially in this region, not quite as open to financing as they might be in other areas. It's not something that we've looked at yet because we don't feel that we need to at this stage. What we've done is actually financed from in-house, and we've looked at partnering with separate investors. So, for example, our African expansion, we're starting in Nairobi, in Kenya, and our local partner is very strong over there, and they have a great portfolio over there. We're very pleased to be partnering with them, and they actually have, you know, big plans themselves for MyOffice as well. So Kenya will be the first stop, but we'll be looking to expand quite rapidly over other countries in Africa as well.
I see Rwanda, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Nigeria, Ghana and Tanzania mentioned. I mean, not just sort of semi-ambitious, very ambitious.
Very ambitious.
Is your partner in Kenya going to do all of that?
It's a complete
or are you going to be
effort,
doing
complete team effort, yeah. We will manage the whole affair, really. We'll be going over, we'll be setting up the centres, getting them opened, hiring in the staff. Obviously what we've done here has worked fantastically. We're incredibly proud of what we've done here. We feel that we can replicate that in other areas.
You mentioned a moment ago that you're going to be funding a lot of this from sort of in-house. When did you hit profitability after startup a couple of years ago?
Well, we actually, the whole centre was full within 6 months. We hit profitability not too far after that. We did a lot better than we were expecting for our first year. Our expansion plans were always on paper due for the end of our second year, but we had to start those almost immediately after the 6 months.
And how did you get the money initially to sort of buy all the office space?
That was brought in by the partners of MyOffice. There's a group of investors, there's around 6 of them, and they funded the initial setup themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, how big would you say the valuation is of MyOffice? How big a company is it? Well, I mean, we're calling it an SME, but how big is it?
Yeah, I mean, on paper it is an SME. The expansion that we've had over the last 6 months or so has really sort of skyrocketed us a little bit in both size and ambition as well. We've recently had a valuation on the company. I won't go into figures, but it's significantly higher than we were expecting. We're really pleased with what we've done, but the point that we always keep in mind is not necessarily what we are today, it's what we can be and what we plan to be.
This is something that SMEs, listening, people who are running their own businesses will be going, well, that's the thing, I have the vision of what I'm going to be tomorrow, but the banks don't, that doesn't equate to anything when it comes to asking for money.
Absolutely.
We're just hearing recent comments from the founder of Aramex. He's setting up his own fund to help SMEs in that next step into sizing up. So, and he's suggesting that, the $1 to $3 million mark needs for investment, is needed. For you, was it tough? Was banks just out of the question to approach?
Yeah, it was, but that was a choice from our side, really. We didn't want to go down that route until we needed to. The primary focus for us was really to try and fund what we could from our own side. That way, obviously, we're in complete control of that. And partnering with a local investor, especially when we're looking to expand into areas that we don't necessarily have a full understanding of, we feel that they can bring more than just the money.
Mm-hmm.
Very briefly, I must ask you, you had a valuation. Was that with an eye to perhaps looking at an IPO?
Not at this stage, no, not yet. Certainly down the road that might well come into things, but we've still got a lot of work to do, and we've still got a lot of plans that we want to fulfil.
Melissa O'Neill, Managing Director at MyOffice, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.